Alright everyone, Budget Magic, Blue-Red Mill, and we have some Evolving Wilds. It's a keeper though. Oh, this deck has been a ton of fun to play. Sometimes it's awesome, other times it's not so awesome, but it definitely can keep up with just about anything. I've been pretty impressed with it so far. Evolving Wilds will lead us off. I don't know if we're going to sack this for a mountain or an island. We might actually just not sack it on turn 1. To see. Ooh. Foundry Street Denizen, eh? I think we're going to sack it for a mountain. Just in case we draw a Fiery Impulse and can kill the goblin. Also a roast. Well, I think we're just going to roast it. Roast the first threat, save the anger of the gods. So get rid of the Foundry Street Denizen. We're also getting cards in our graveyard for a future treasure cruise, which is good. The more interesting question, assuming we don't draw a land, will be, do we crack our second Evolving Wilds for an island, so we can play Tutelage and eventually Cruise? Or do we need to sack it for a mountain, so we can play Anger of the Gods? Impact Tremors. That's interesting. Well, let's see what our opponent does. We really just want to draw another land, because then we can Magmatic Insight, another Foundry Street Denizen, and we take one from Impact Tremors. And Frenzied Goblin. Now we might just have to... Oh man, this is hard. I guess we gotta crack it for red. As much as that sucks. Crack it for red so we can clean away both of those creatures. And then if we draw any land, we can Magmatic Insight, which helps. Do we want to do it now, or do we wait? I think we can wait one turn. Maybe that was a reason to not sack it. Alright. So we take a bunch of damage, but we get to get rid of a dragon fodder as well. And then we're just hoping for any land. Especially an island, but... So we're going to take 4 more, so we're going to be down to 14, and there is an Impact Tremors. But we get to clean up the board. We do have 27 lands, so odds of us drawing one are not too bad. That is certainly not a land. Well, we will Anger the Gods. Oh, what a horrible draw. I think we had to play it this way, though. If we had gotten blue for the Tutelage, then we would just be dying to our opponent's board. At least this buys us some time to draw land. I mean, best draw is Island. But we'll see. Another dragon fodder. That equals 2 more damage. We are going to have to draw something pretty soon. Actually, if we draw an island, we can play a treasure cruise. If we draw a mountain, we can Magmatic Insight to try to find... Well, it sucks to pitch this Radiant Fountain, but I don't think we have a choice. We really need to find an island. And, of course, we drew 2 non-lands. Oh, our 27 land deck is betraying us. Swift Spear equals a damage, gets to attack. Opponent must have some big burn spells in their hand. It's the only thing that really makes sense. Oh my gosh. Alright. I don't even want to keep playing this. Oh, so frustrating. I guess all our lands must be on the bottom of our deck. Alright, well, Seismic Rupture is awesome here. What are we getting rid of? Send to Sleep is not exciting, and that might be it. Keep the burn, keep the card draw. Talent's too slow, negate, We'll run it like that. Well, this looks a lot like last hand. Almost exactly like last hand. Except Tormenting Voice helps, because that isn't reliant on a land. We can discard something else for that. Foundry Street Denizen. I think we sack for a mountain, so we can Fiery Impulse the Foundry Street Denizen next turn. We win the long game, that's for sure, and our opponent can't really interact with our game plan. Another mountain. Alright, so now that makes me feel much better, because now we can definitely sack this for an island, and we will still have double red for the anger. So I'm expecting like Dragon Fodder or something, and then we'll just kill the Denizen in response. Another Denizen. If our opponent just plays another 1-drop, then we might just let this go. Now I think we're still going to kill it. I think it's still worth it. Collateral damage, okay. That's fine. Yeah, sure, it's a bolt to our face, but still gets rid of the creature. So we'll get an island here. We do have the Radiant Fountain, which is nice. Now, what's the plan? We probably got to start discarding things. I think we're going to Magmatic Insight, pitching this island. And then Tormenting Voice, pitching a mountain. Interesting. Dictate is questionable in this matchup just because we can draw our opponent into so much action. But it's very good once we have a Sphinx's Tutelage going. So thankfully we have a couple removal spells, so we can kind of play the control game. Unfortunately, we can't both roast and dictate in the same turn. So let's see what our opponent has. Just Lightning Strike, okay. Well, now I think we certainly just Anger of the Gods next turn. We'll take 4 down to 10, but our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. We do have a Radiant Fountain to gain some life at some point. Wondering if we should just cast it now, or if we want to wait. We only have 1 Alhammarret's Archive, but if we draw it, Radiant Fountain is excellent with it. So I think we'll just wait and Anger. 2 for 1. Can deal with that. So we'd really like a Treasure Cruise or a Sphinx's Tutelage. Those are the 2 big ones. That's odd. So your opponent can haste up their Foundry Street Denizen. Gains haste and unblockable, is that the deal? Yep. That's fine, because we can just roast it. And then maybe I should have just cited out the Dictate. Dig is good. Dig is very good. Alright, so now we can just roast that. I think we'll play the island because we might dig into our archive. And then we could play that and gain 4 next turn. Looks like our opponent's going to pass. Alright, so dig through time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter what we leave in the graveyard as long as we leave enough spells for spell mastery, which I guess doesn't really matter, but since we cited out the Send to Sleep. Well, that's Alhammarret's Archive, and there's a Treasure Cruise. So Treasure Cruise is pretty nuts with an Archive on the battlefield. And another Anger. Oh, that's good. Alright, so we'll play the Archive. With the archive out, Dictate gets a lot better too. Play Radiant Fountain, so we gain 4. And now we're basically a Sphinx's Tutelage away from really locking this game up. Opponent has what? 5 mana. Hordling Outburst, gonna give some tokens haste. That's fine. We'll probably just Anger and Cruise. Yeah, it seems reasonable. So we'll Anger first, get another card in our graveyard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we'll just exile everything, leave some mana up. I was debating whether we should leave more cards in the graveyard for our next treasure cruise, but I think I'd rather have the mana for Magmatic Insight and such. Well, we drew a bunch of Magmatic Insights, which are sweet, and the Seismic Rupture is good. Because Magmatic Insight draws 4, we discard a land, and then we draw 4 cards, which is insane. So we'll just pass the turn and sack here for another mountain. We just need a Sphinx's Tutelage, and we'll lock this. There we go. So we might be able to just win this game on the spot, actually. Sphinx's Tutelage. So our opponent's at 46 cards. I wouldn't be surprised if we could do everything right here. Really depends on what we draw, though. But we are drawing 4, remember. So that means 4 triggers and 4 chances of hitting something that we want. Alright, so we get to mill a bunch of cards from our opponent. Ooh, that was a good one. We milled like 6 with the first one. So our opponent's down to 36, 30. That's the great thing about the mono red. 20, holy... We just milled 10 with 1 activation. Oh, 8, 9 red cards in a row. That's insane. So then we'll Magmatic Insight again, pitching another mountain. I can't believe we just milled 10. 10 cards. So we get 4 more triggers here, which either will be enough to finish off our opponent, or we will finish them off with our Wild Guess, or Tormenting Voice, basically like Wild Guess. 14, 12, 10, 8, and Tormenting Voice, pitching Seismic Rupture, I guess. And that does it for sure. Even if we only hit 2 each time, that still puts our opponent to 0. And shout out to our opponent too. Just sent me a message. Big fan of the Budget Magic series. Said that he hopes that his match will be posted this week, and I told him I am recording, so it most likely will be. So it's always nice. If you're ever on Moto, feel free to send me a message. If you have any questions or just want to say hi. Anyway, we just have to discard here, and then our opponent will die on their draw step, and there it is. So yeah, pretty typical mono red deck. Couple pieces of spice. The breakthroughs, which are interesting. Giving haste. I actually didn't realize that this card gave haste. I thought it was just like a Goblin Tunneler, or hopefully I picked the right card. Whatever card it was in Rise of Eldrazi that you would use to give Velashuk Firebore, the like 1/7 that flipped power and toughness when it attacked. We'd use that to give the boar unblockable, and then you could flip its power and toughness, and it was pretty sweet. I don't think it was good. I don't think I actually when I first drafted Rise of Eldrazi, that was back not too long after I really started playing Limited on Magic Online. Started playing Magic Online 2008, I think, but I kind of just messed around at first. Finally started playing limited, and uh, Rise of Eldrazi sticks out as one of the first sets that I really was into limited. And I remember opening a foil Gideon Jura, which was the coolest thing ever. And at the time, it was like 45 tickets or something I sold it for. So I was able to draft and probably lose because I wasn't very good at limited back then. 3 more times just because I opened this foil Gideon Jura. And I think I lost the draft, which shows how bad I was at limited because Gideon Jura is about the most busted card you can open in a draft. Like, not quite pack rat or like Jit broken, but it is really strong. Oh, this is another excellent hand. We got the Tutelage, we have an Anger, and we will have all our mana. The only thing we're lacking is a way to deal with the first play. So we might take a lot of damage here before we Anger to hopefully clean things up. But after that, assuming we draw a land or two for our Magmatic Insights, we can kind of go to town. Well, there is Foundry Street Denizen. Represents quite a bit of damage. What do we have here? Tormenting Voice. Another card that will be good if we can survive long enough. So I'm guessing we sack this Evolving Wilds for an island. And... Dragon Fodder. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Good thing we have this Anger, and I'm a little nervous that even having this Anger, we might be a little bit too slow. The one thing I didn't notice when we milled all of our opponent's cards was a lot of big burn spells, which makes me feel a little bit better that if we take a bunch of damage over the first couple turns, we're not just gonna... If you watch the Pro Tour this weekend, Joel Larson won. You know I'm not a fan of the red deck, but he played it very well, and congratulations to him. But he would top deck, like, when things got tight, he, a couple times, top deck, like, Exquisite Firecraft or Stoke the Flame and could close out the game. I don't think we have to worry about that as much with our opponent's deck. Alright, Whelming Wave is actually sweet if we get to it. In a deck that's playing a bunch of tokens and Hordling Outbursts, Whelming Wave is kind of a wrath. Yeah, here's the Outburst. Okay, so we're taking 4, 5, 6 down to 11. That is a lot of damages. But then we get to Anger, and like I said, hopefully our opponent might not have Stokes and so on, which, that is an odd choice. I wonder what our opponent's reasoning is for not attacking with that Goblin. Unless it's just a misclick, and that does happen on Moto sometimes. I can't see what they could possibly be afraid of with 1 blue mana up. Treasure Cruise, well, that could be good eventually. But yeah, we definitely got an Anger here. And see what happens. Our opponent wasn't too excited about getting angered there. And understandably. But I mean, that's kind of the risk you take with playing the red deck. You gotta pour out your hand. There's no other way you're gonna win. But then if your opponent has Anger, things get kind of rough. So there's a Swift Spear. Our opponent's down to 2 cards, but we are out of removal. And don't have another land, unfortunately. Tormenting Voice. Alright. Gotta take the risky line. Play the Tutelage, see what happens. It would be nice to have a land, but... So, a Tutelage, mill 40 off of 1 activation. That would be pretty sweet. Oh man, what's coming out now? More creatures is bad for us. Dragon Fodder. So we're going to 9, and then to something less than 9. Like 6 or 5 even. Alright. Let's draw a land. We could use a land. So we get an activation here. Oh, another Anger. Well, I guess we just got an Anger. Would like to be drawing cards, but oh, there's a Stoke. Alright. Ooh, so our opponent does have Stokes. The good news is being at 5 is way better than being at 4. That means a Stoke off the top doesn't kill us on its own. What's our opponent have? Oh, Hordling Outburst. Well, Hordling Outburst plus Burn Spell kills us. Alright. What's our plan here? Staying alive, obviously. Well, I guess we start on Magmatic Insight in case we draw a Mountain and another Anger. So we get some milling action. Oh, this is a Goblin deck. There's a Pile Driver. Jeez, we milled a ton of cards again. Well, I think we're going to just Magmatic Insight again. Pitching Evolving Wilds. Oh man, I think we're in trouble. Potentially in trouble. Oh boy. So our opponent's down to 22 cards. What are... They have Stokes, they have Lightning Strikes, they have Collateral Damage. I mean, our opponent's probably holding a Burn Spell, and then we're just dead. But... Well, maybe we can get there somehow. We can Treasure Cruise, get 3 more triggers. If we actually mill out with this would be insane. I'm really, just a gain Lifeland would be nice. How many do we get this time? Down to 18, 16, 14. So we can't draw any more cards. I guess we just Swiftwater Cliffs, and now we're probably dead. Any burn spell does it. A haste creature doesn't just do it. A Scab Clan Berserker kinda does it. But not exactly. Because well, no. I was thinking it triggered like an Eidolon, but it actually triggers on any non-creature spell. So that does do it, even though we don't die right away. It probably does it. So I guess we just pitch the Archive. I mean, either we survive this turn and win, or we die this turn and don't win. That's what it comes down to. It's funny that if we had hit a Radiant Fountain and all that drawing, instead of a Swiftwater Cliffs, that could definitely be the difference in winning and losing this game. Maybe we... Are we gonna do it? Does our opponent not have the ability to kill us? Well, we're definitely going for the win here. Tormenting Voice, discarding Anger. Oh man, maybe our opponent really didn't have it. That was fortunate. 9, 5, Magmatic Insight, pitching Island. Whew, I think we got there. Unless our opponent's pulling off the slow roll. Oh, that milled all of them. Alright, I think we did it. Unless they're slow rolling us. We'll just play the land so we don't have to discard and pass the turn. Is it the slow roll? You wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't do that to me. Not on camera. Oh, man. Whew! Well, that was a close one. With a very friendly opponent, so... Oh, well, we got there. That's what counts. Oh, I thought we were dead, but we weren't. So, alright, I'll be back with more.